That's the work ethic they had.
Yeah.
That's the work ethic that they taught others around them.
Yeah.
But you got to be really, really careful in this business not to let that freedom get the best of you.
So with great freedom comes great responsibility.
Absolutely.
We're at the Senior Life Insurance Company home office. This is episode 6 of our podcast, and we are all fired up. Today we've got an amazing guest, one of our RVPs, definitely a veteran with our company and in the industry, Mr. Russ. Russ, how you doing today?
Man, I'm doing great, Thomas, and thank you for having me. It's really great to be here and a pleasure.
Definitely. It's always a pleasure to be in your presence, Russ. You're always such an amazing and positive person, always so upbeat. Somebody I've known for 10 years since I've been with the company. But you've been in Final Expense for a while now. You've been in the industry for a while. Right. We were just kind of talking off mic since the late 80s. How did you get involved in Final Expense to begin with? Actually,
in the very beginning, I was actually a staff manager with a home service company that Dale and I both worked with, by the way. And I had an agent that worked with me, and he was what I would call a mediocre agent, if you want to know the truth.
Right, yeah.
And was not really good at selling, pretty good at collecting. And I was going to work with him, and one day he decided he was going to leave me. He was going to leave that company and go into commission sales doing Final Expense. Of course, my reaction to him was, man, you're going to starve to death. You can't even sell what we're selling now. Well, it rolled on, rocked on for several weeks, and, he got to showing me his paychecks. The old adage, we hear a lot of our guys now talk about recruiting with their paycheck, but really that's what brought me into the Final Expense market, having an opportunity to see what this guy was making, and I said, hey, if he can make that much, I'll triple that.
Yeah.
And so that led me to the Final Expense market back in 1988.
Wow. What was it, though, like that really clicked with you? Because anytime you get involved and you change endeavors and things like that, there is an adjustment period. So when was it that, you made the decision to be there, you knew you were going to do well in it, but when was the moment you knew, like, this is where I'm going to stay in this industry?
Well, I think probably if you move the clock forward to around 1994.
Okay.
That's when it really clicked for me. I actually only worked in the Final Expense market about 2 years.
Okay.
And I actually left. And it's an amazing thing how the good Lord just takes you back to things. But in 1994 I came back to the Final Expense market. By that time, Dale and Ron had formed their agency. Yeah. And I called Dale and asked him, I said, hey, have you got room for one more?
Right.
And of course, we knew we had worked together some in the past, and the opportunity was there. But I think in 1994, when things were they were already in the midst of building an agency, for me, it was about being tired of living from paycheck to paycheck.
Right.
I knew what the opportunity was like, and and wanted to take advantage of that.
What caused you to leave for those? Because you said you were in it for 2 years and then came back a few years later. What was why'd you leave?
Well, in actuality, it was funny. My wife, at that point in time, we had a 10-year-old son. My son, Matt, who actually works with us now. Right. And, for her, it was not really working out me traveling, because we traveled then.
Yes.
We would leave home on Monday mornings, come back home Wednesday night or Thursday night after we'd went out of town and worked our leads. And, she was just at a point, we were at a point then in our lives that didn't work out for her.
Right.
And, as it worked, the other side of that too, my son, I was always raised on the ball fields with my father being the coach.
Right.
And I had an opportunity there to coach Matt in baseball. And I said, life's too short.
Right.
I'm going to do that. I'm going to be there for my son like my dad was for me.
Absolutely.
So I actually took back to the home service business right there in Moultrie, where I was there locally and able to do those things with him.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, definitely for your family, you got to make those sacrifices, and sometimes you have to give up large financial gain to gain more time. That's always a part of it. But then you come back. What makes you come back then?
Well, the living paycheck to paycheck.
Yeah.
Knowing that there was something better out there, having experienced it, for a couple of years there, knowing there was something better, knowing and trusting in Dale and Ron Powell for what they were doing and what they built. I was actually in a position that I could see what they had going on.
Yeah.
And I wanted to be a part of that. But my wife and I, we were at a point then, in all honesty, that we were living paycheck to paycheck. I had a job.
Yeah.
We always use the analogy that stands for just over broke. and that's
Right.
where we were. We
Right.
were just over broke.
Right.
And I told my wife then, I said, look, if you'll give me 12 months, you focus on the things here at the house. If the plumbing tears up, you call the plumber, don't call me.
Right.
If the car tears up, call the mechanic, don't call me.
Right.
So, we took that and I focused on what we were doing. And quite frankly, the blessings have been very, very fruitful since that time. And it started back then. It became a passion.
Right.
You were talking about, how did you know? It became a passion.
Okay.
Not many people really live to work.
Right.
But I can say for the last 24 and a half years, I've really lived to work. I enjoy it that good.
You said whenever you made the commitment to your wife to get back into the industry, to get back into Final Expense, to work with Ron and Dale, you gave yourself like 12 months is what you just said. What did that mean? What was the kind of goal that you had in 12 months?
The thing that I wanted to do, I told her in 12 months I'd have us out of debt.
Okay.
We wouldn't know anybody.
Okay.
If she would give me that focus. Well, funny thing happened. I guess a little testimonial here. 6 months later, we're buying new cars.
Right.
9 months later, we bought a new house.
Right.
Went from having a $200 a month house payment to a $1,000 a month house payment.
Okay.
That's way back when. But the reality of it is, it changed our lives. The opportunity literally changed our lives and put us in a position that, quite frankly, we could do just about whatever we wanted to do.
Right.
I'll be honest with you, there was a while there when I started in this business, I didn't think this was real.
Okay.
I called Ron one day. I said, man, this ain't right.
Right.
He said, what are you talking about? I said, man, the money that I'm making, I said, I'm not supposed to be making this much money.
Oh, wow.
I felt guilty.
Oh, wow.
Because my income had just went out the roof.
Right.
And I couldn't believe the things that we were buying whatever we wanted to. And Ron says, well, hey, don't worry about it. That'll pass too. Once you get everything bought up, then you'll start saving some of that.
Right.
But the reality of it is it changed our lives. And it's continued to change our lives. And I know it has many, many others. I mean, I've had an opportunity to work with some people and work with some people now.
Yeah.
That this business has really changed their lives and give them a chance to do things that they never thought was possible.
Definitely.
But it was just a great opportunity, an opportunity, Thomas, to take care of my family.
Yeah, definitely.
And that was the big motivational thing.
Yeah.
Was to take care of them, quit living from paycheck to paycheck, and have something in life.
And you were already seeing results that large. Just you gave yourself 12 months, gave yourself a year, and in half that time, you were already seeing those kinds of results.
The first full year that I worked, I was actually very fortunate.
Yes.
Well, I say very fortunate, and I worked hard.
Yeah.
But I led the company that we worked with. And back in 1995, I was the top producer they had nationwide. I was so focused on what I was doing, and it becomes such a passion. I used to play a lot of golf. There was a point in time that I played a lot of golf, and I had a passion for that golf. And I took that passion that I had for playing golf and brought it to this business in 1994. And quite frankly, I mean, it really was rewarding.
Definitely. So what was it like? I mean, just because, in the 90s and the glory days, you say like 95 to just 2000, just before they purchased Senior Life and started Senior Life. What was that like during that time for you?
Well, it was really, really gratifying in that we were a family. I mean, quite frankly, when we would go on the road back in those days, Dale and Ron were traveling with us.
Yeah.
We'd go out on the road, we'd get a motel room. Some of the older guys, Mitch, who's still with us, of course, Mike, we would all go on the road. We'd get in a hotel room, and there might be 20 of us in one hotel. Wow. I remember, not one hotel room,
right?
But in one hotel.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was just a family atmosphere.
Okay.
You would get excited about going off on Monday mornings. You'd come home to your wife, and there was a lot of excitement there because you couldn't wait to get home to see your wife.
Keep it real.
But by Monday morning,
right?
You were excited to get back with the guys.
Yeah, definitely.
And it was fun. We made it fun back then. It was more of a game. It was more just having fun, a family atmosphere. And we still have somewhat of that family atmosphere. We just don't travel together and, so to speak, live together like we used to.
Right.
But when you were going to the hotel rooms, you knew what we were in regular routines, honestly. I mean, we knew every Monday night we were going to all eat supper together. Everybody'd wait for everybody at the hotel rooms. We'd go out and eat supper together on Monday nights. Now, Tuesdays and Wednesday nights, not so much.
Right.
If you happened to be in and somebody was there, you'd go grab a bite with them, or you'd stop somewhere and bring something back. But it was that camaraderie, that family atmosphere, the working together. It was a team, and we worked almost exclusively as teams right then.
Right.
Yes, it was competitive.
Right.
I mean, everybody wanted to do better than whoever else was with you.
Yeah.
And I think that part of it is what made it so much fun.
I got you. Now, speaking of competition and being competitive, you are very much involved in your community in Moultrie, Georgia.
Right.
For the people watching, Moultrie is just up the road. It's pretty much about the size of Thomasville, and it's about 15, 20 minutes from where we're at right now at the home office. What kind of involvement are you with the local sports and the teams in Moultrie?
Well, I, of course, enjoy our football up there, and I'm really a fan of all high school sports. I've coached baseball and football in the recreation department up there for about 21 years.
Oh, wow.
And just recently, like 2 years ago, I think was the last year, not last summer, the summer before last, was the last year that I actually coached. But I have in the past. I mean, there was a time for about 9 years I did the radio broadcast. I did the announcing for a little AM radio station that we had there on the football games for about 9 years. I still do the PA announcing for our high school baseball team now.
Okay.
And, I enjoy being around young people and seeing them. I had a fellow not long ago, he asked me, he says, why are you still doing this? Because, yes, my son, Matt, I coached him, like I said, back in the early 90s. Then I had a nephew come along, and that got me back involved in the baseball.
Okay.
Well, after that, it would be, hey, why don't you stay hang around and help me coach? And I did. For years, I coached without anybody that was in any relationship to me.
Okay.
Just friends.
Right.
And one thing I learned about that, it helped me to be a better coach because I treated everybody the same way in that regard, and it really, really helped, and I enjoyed it. And, my philosophy in that was, somebody asked me, why do you do that? Why do you still do it? Well, I love the game of baseball.
Right.
I love being around young people. And, the one thing I know in this world is, we talked about earlier, the success that you can have in this business and the money you make. Well, I already know that when I die, nobody's going to remember me for how much money I had.
Right.
But if there's one thing that I can impart to one of those young people out there on the baseball field or out there on the football field, that 20 years from now, when I'm dead and gone, they can say, well, Coach Russ told me so-and-so.
Right.
You don't do that. You do it right.
Yeah.
And, that can leave a legacy for a lifetime.
Absolutely.
They're not going to remember how much money I had. They're not going to really remember me. You guys, some of the young guys around here might say, you remember old Russ. But the reality of it is, it's just fun to be out there with those kids, and it's fun to think that you can be a part of their lives.
Definitely. And
I love the community.
And you've actually coached some kids that wind up going and playing sports in major college teams.
And I have, in fact, a couple of guys. One, if you'd like, Aubrey McCarty is actually played college baseball. He actually played for FAMU.
Oh, wow.
A couple of years ago, and signed a minor league contract. He's there. Andrew Wallace. There've been multiple young men that have went on to play college baseball.
Definitely.
And we coached them through the rec department league.
Wow.
There.
That's amazing.
Sure is.
Because it's all about impact. It's all about legacy. Do you feel like your career in Final Expense, your time with Ron, your time with Senior Life, that's one of the things that allowed you to have that time to where you can pour back into your community, especially with the kids?
There's no question about that. In fact, I was reading something this week, and it talked about self-discipline. And you see so many people that are self-disciplined. If you are self-disciplined, it does give you the freedom to be able to do the things you want. If you're not self-disciplined, you become a slave to bad habits.
Right.
And I see so many people in this business that have become slaves to bad habits that they don't have any freedom.
Right.
Because if you're a slave to a bad habit, instead of going out there and getting on that set of leads and following the system, being out there making that first call at 9 or 9:30 every morning, the reality of it is you say, I got to run by the bank today, and you're 1, 2, 3 o'clock making that first call because you've developed bad habits.
Right.
Oftentimes the secret to this business is being self-disciplined. I tell people all the time, one of the things that we have is our freedom, and that's a blessing.
Definitely.
The other side of it is freedom is also a curse in this business. Because if you're not disciplined enough to do what you need to do, that freedom will eat you alive.
Wow.
It'll create bad habits.
Yeah.
And when you do that, you're pretty much going to be out of the business because you have to stay focused on what you're here to do.
Yeah.
I tell people all the time, it doesn't matter in doing what we do and what I try to get the people around me to understand is you have to focus on this business just like you would if you were going to a job that you were punching a clock.
Right.
Our system entails, and it's developed over time, the trial and error, going back to the 80s, the 90s.
Yeah.
I mean, it's being at that first call by 9 to 9:30 on Monday morning. Staying out there till an hour after dark. And I'm not saying anybody go in a house at dark, but you get to that last call in the evening at dusk dark, you finish up, it's dark.
Yeah.
You do that Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, you can't help but be successful in this business.
There it is.
So, I mean, if you follow that, that's the tried and true method that really, in my opinion, is what built Senior Life Insurance Company.
Right.
And that was a credit to Dale and Ron because that's the work ethic they had.
Yeah.
That's the work ethic that they taught others around them.
Yeah.
But you got to be really, really careful in this business not to let that freedom get the best of you.
So with great freedom comes great responsibility.
Absolutely.
So when it comes to that, what kept you motivated all of those years? Like, was there an aha moment? Were you already just self-disciplined and you just kept with it? Like, what was it? Because discipline sometimes is not a natural thing for people. Sometimes it's a learned experience. So what was it for you? Well,
I think the biggest thing for me is going back to what we were talking about earlier, being in the financial situation that I was when I first started.
Yeah.
Okay. Making that commitment to my wife, wanting to fulfill that commitment and that promise that I made her that I would get us in a financial situation that we'd never seen before. And I think really and truly, I developed that habit. You see, back when I first started, and this is going back to 1994, most of the agents, when I joined back up with Dale and Ron, most of the agents were going out working Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. They were heading home on Wednesday night.
Right.
Because of that commitment I made to my wife, I said, I'm going to stay Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday.
Yeah.
Funny thing happened. What we learned back then, production-wise, for every day that you were committed to working, you were going to produce approximately $1,000.
Right.
So back then, we had people that were producing $3,000. We had some people that have exceptional weeks that would have $4,000 and $5,000 occasionally. Right. But what happened by adding that extra day, my production when I led the company averaged $4,400 a week that year in production. Well, people then started seeing that, but it became that discipline that created the habit.
There it is.
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday.
Yeah.
Once it got to that point for me, then, I didn't know any different. I was just so laser focused, and I knew when I left home on Monday morning that I was not coming back till I had the job done on Thursday.
Right.
I had committed goals. I rode in my car. I had a pad that one of the stick-on pads that stuck to the windshield. Back then, I had a goal of $3,000 a week. And I wrote that on that pad every Monday morning along with my mileage to keep up with my mileage. And every time I'd write an app, I'd subtract that production from that goal.
Right.
So I was not going to come home till I had at least $3,000. Wow. Now, if it was Wednesday afternoon at 2 o'clock and I had $3,000, Still not going home.
You're right.
Not going home till Thursday evening.
Right.
You know, but and that's how I'd wind up writing $4,000 and $5,000 a week. You know, I think back in 1994 there was 4 straight months that produced a little over $25,000 a month.
Oh wow.
You know, and that was all in the field.
Right.
In fact, I can tell you it was in Orlando, Florida.
Oh wow.
I mean that I worked about 9 months in Orlando, Florida the year I led the company.
Oh wow.
And but it's about having that self-discipline, first of all, making that commitment, and then making it a habit.
Definitely.
Once you make it a habit, it's just there.
It's just there.
You don't think about it anymore.
Right.
You just do it.
It's habitual. You just continue to do it because it's natural at that point. So we talk about legacy. We talked about coaching. You had mentioned your son a couple of times, Matt. Matt is actually an agent with the company. He's worked with you for quite some time. What is that like? You know, you go from coaching him on the ball field to coaching him in the industry. What got him involved to begin with? Was it seeing your success? Was it just wanting to be like his dad? What was it?
Well, you know, I would like to think it was wanting to be like his dad, but I really think that he actually went to Valdosta State. Back then it was Valdosta State College. It's Valdosta State University now. When he came out of college, he got ready to get married. And he was actually putting in resumes to go to work at different places.
Right.
Well, he knew what we did. And, you know, everywhere that he would put in a resume, you know, the top that they would start him at back then was around $30,000. And, you know, he came to me one day, he says, Dad, can I make that much money working with you? Can I make more than that? And of course, we were having the success that we were then. And I said, absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, here's the deal. You know, we can do that, but you're going to have to do what I tell you. You're going to have to let me teach you. Right. Well, the funny thing about it wasn't long. He knew more about it than I did. But you know, he has done a tremendous job. He went to work, and you know, his first year he had a 6-figure income.
Oh wow!
And working with us, so you know, he knows what to do in this business, and has done well at it.
Absolutely, absolutely. With that in mind, though, you know, you did extraordinarily well in the 90s. You've been with Ron and Dale since then. You know, you were here whenever Senior Life started on the very first day, you know, and you still recruit at a high level. You still produce personally and as a group at a high level. With renewals, with residual income, you don't really need to at this point. So what is it that makes you continue whenever you really, I mean, honestly, you really don't have to at this point? What keeps you going? What keeps you bringing these agents on board? What keeps you producing? Because you're still doing numbers still. Well,
I told somebody, and I know I'm full of cliches, okay, but it's still the thrill of victory and the agony of defeat. It's still, you know, I still love the game. I still love the chase, the hunt.
Right.
I mean, call it what you will. I mean, I know all those are cliches, but I think it goes back to what we were talking about a while ago. You know, I developed some habits. I'll be quite honest with you. I wouldn't know what to do today.
You wouldn't know. You wouldn't even know how to retire.
I mean, I wouldn't know. I've told my wife, I'm not quitting work.
Yeah.
I'm going to work till the day I leave this world or physically no longer able to do it. I love this business that much, and I still have a passion for it. Now, I will say, you know, it is one of those things that, yes, you know, it's not something you have to do at this point.
Right.
But it's something that I love doing.
Yeah.
And I think I've gotten to the point for me, you know, it's going back to the coach in me and wanting to impart something on those young men, those 9, 10, 11, 12-year-olds when you're coaching a ball field. It works pretty much the same way here, because really what we do when it comes to building an organization, the recruiting part of it, the training part of it, we're really just coaches.
Yeah, definitely.
We're doing the same thing.
Definitely.
And so I think for me, you know, seeing other people be successful really means more to me than my success at this point.
Wow, yeah.
But the reality of it is, when you help those people be successful, you know, it just pushes you along.
Yeah, definitely.
Those production numbers just come. But if you're helping somebody that you work with build and grow their organization, it just naturally helps you build and grow your organization.
Definitely.
But it is still that passion.
Yeah.
The thrill of victory and the agony of defeat. I still love, you know, being in the field. I was in Atlanta. I've been in Atlanta the last 2 days.
Yeah.
We did some training yesterday up there with the group, myself and a couple other guys. Tim White Brandon Owens went with me, and we went up. We did some training up there. So I mean, it's really it's still about loving the business. It's
Definitely.
still about wanting to get up every morning and make a difference.
Definitely. So, talked about the past, talking about the present. What do you see? What's the future of your agency?
Well, I think we're just going to continue to build and grow. I'm really, really proud of everybody that I'm associated with, and it's like I told them the other week. I'm here to help them. And the reality of it is, we've got some great people that I think at this point are really starting to blossom.
Definitely.
And come on, that I think they're just the sky's the limit from them. I can see some of the people that I am fortunate enough to work with right now that 10 years from now, they'll be in a similar situation that I've been in the past, where financially it's not about that anymore.
Right.
It's about helping others.
Definitely.
But I see some of those guys that are really, they're plugged in, they're doing what needs to be done to be successful. And again, that helps us as a group as a whole grow now.
Definitely. And continuing with the future theme, being with Ron and Dale in the past, being one of the pillars of Senior Life that you are, where do you see Senior Life Insurance Company in the future?
Well, I learned a long time ago, Ron was a pretty smart fella. Ron's already always to me been the visionary of this company. He can see into the future.
Yes.
I used to tell him he had X-ray vision. He was Superman, because he could see things that I couldn't see.
Yeah.
And he made a statement years ago about wanting to become the Walmart of the final expense market. Well, I look around and I think it's happening right before our eyes.
Definitely.
And when I say that, I look at some things that I see going on. Some of the mindset tour thing that we did in Atlanta, that was a great thing. And I know we got some of those going on again in the month of April, and looking forward to that. In fact, we're going to have one over in Montgomery. And, anybody that sees this, we'd be more than happy to have you come join us.
Definitely.
In Montgomery on the 19th at 10 a.m. Central Time over there.
There it is.
To join us on the Mindset Tour and share with you about the opportunity that we have available here with Senior Life. But I see us becoming the Walmart, for choice of a better word. That's the way Ron referred to it. But I look around at our competitors, and when people are talking about you, you're making a difference.
Yeah.
And we're the buzzword right now in the final expense market.
Yeah.
After we had the Mindset Tour in Atlanta, now we're seeing these other companies. They're spotting around. They know that we're doing some of the satellite seminars in remote locations.
Definitely.
Well, I'm getting emails and constant contact and those things just about every week.
Yeah.
Of one of our competitors trying to follow in the footsteps of the things that we're doing.
Yeah.
So I think that I'm seeing it unfold. I think others are seeing it unfold, and I think we're going to be the pillar of the final experience community. I think that the opportunity is there with the technology we have, with the leads program we have. All of those things are in place. We're not a one-stop shop.
Not at all.
We're not the company that you go out there and get you a big old high commission and you don't ever get any leads, you don't ever get any support.
Right.
We've got a total package with having a in-house leads program, having the opportunity to build and grow your own agency, if that's your desire and what you want to do. We're not going to hold anybody back from being able to do that.
Yeah.
But those things are the things that I think we have going for us that separates us from the other companies that we see out there. And most importantly in all that is our people.
Yes.
We've got some great people we work with both here in the home office, and outside of here, having and being around those type of people, the people that we have working with us. When you can surround yourself with those type of people, you can't help but be successful.
There it is. Often imitated, but we cannot be duplicated. Russ, one of the things that I love about you the most is your energy. Like I said at the beginning of the podcast, I've known you for over 10 years now. And the very first day I met you, you were a high energy person and you just had a ton of positivity and just a ton of energy in the moment. And every time I've seen you, even if it was briefly, you still maintain that energy, and it's very inspiring to myself and a lot of people. Before we get out of here, before we conclude this episode, is there anything else you'd like to say? Man,
I'd just like to thank you for having me today to do the podcast, and it's just such a great opportunity. I would challenge people out there, especially if you're looking for a career opportunity, if you want to really have something for your family, there is an opportunity with here with Senior Life that you need to take advantage of. You know, I see so many young people today, and when I say young people, I'm talking about people in their 20s, they're lost. You know, find you a home, and there's one here at Senior Life if you want to take advantage of that. But man, thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure, and it's always fun to be here, and I love doing these things. So
absolutely.
Thank you for having me.
Definitely. Ladies and gentlemen, my good friend, RVP, legendary, Mr. Russ, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you, Thomas.
And like we always say, Senior Life, all your life.
All your life.